Hi everybody, Tom here, and today I want to talk about how to get into cloud computing from another career. I've been leading cloud teams now for 2 years, and I have one more week to do it, and I'm switching to another role, but for now I'm still leading cloud computing, and so I know what hiring managers look for, because I have hiring managers that work for me, and I'm going to give you the lowdown on what you need to do. Again, this is my opinion, but again, I hire them, so you should trust it. One item I want to talk about is I think we've reached peak talent in IT, and so there's a term called peak oil, where someone believes that we've reached all the oil we're ever going to find, and we're not going to find any more. It's going to go down from there. Well, I think we're almost at peak talent, where we have many people who know cloud. Just about anyone who knows it is already employed. But there are people who want to get into it, and there are positions, but you have to be able to sell yourself, and I'm going to give you those tips. Number one is you need to know the command line. Many people who haven't grown up with computers in the 90s never learned the command line unless they worked on Linux. But years ago on Windows 3.1 or 3.0, you still had to know DOS. And so if you didn't grow up in that, or you grew up with iPhones or Macintosh, right? A lot of people just don't know the command line. So you need to know about 10 or 12 commands, how to change directories, how to create directories, how to navigate, how to find out where you are. It's more than that, but it's not overly complex. So that's number one, know the command line. Number two, and this is where a lot of people fall short right off the bat, is Git, G-I-T. So most enterprise cloud organizations are using Git to store files in version control. That's the version control system that they've used. Now, other people have used SVN or CVS in the past, or Visual Source Safe. Those are really old. Most everyone today uses Git. I'm sure there's some people who use Mercurial, which is similar, but you need to learn Git, and it's not that hard, right? You can try to learn it in an hour. Again, 10 or 12 commands. You don't have to be an expert on all, 100 commands, right? You're not going to be a release engineer. You need to learn how to clone a repo, how to pull it, how to push, how to create a branch, how to merge, how to create a pull request. There's a few more things in that, but again, it's very basic. Another area that's pretty simple to get a grasp on is the VI editor, so VI or Vim, which is VI improved. It can be complicated to memorize all the different commands. You don't need to do that. If you have to open a file, a text file on a Linux machine, you would type Vim space file name. And then once you get in there, you're going to be completely stuck unless you know to hit I. I will bring you into insert mode, and from there you can kind of type around and do what you got to do. Use the keys, the up and down, left, right arrow to navigate. And then if you want to save the file, you hit the escape key, get back into normal mode, :WQ exclamation mark, or if you just want to quit without saving, it's :Q exclamation mark. Now there's a lot more to that, but if you know that at least gets you working and gets you doing something, and you can learn the rest as you need it. It would be good to understand the basics of Linux. A lot of people may not have, you can't always buy Linux computers in the store, and most people use Windows or Mac. If you're running Windows, you can create a virtual machine with Linux, start learning it, maybe you can start trying to use that as much as possible and learn the basics of it. It would really help. Next area for when you're getting into enterprise is learning Terraform. All enterprises, for the most part, especially large ones, use Terraform for infrastructure as code. When you take a lot of training classes for the cloud from various vendors, often they're having you interactively create items on the screen. That's not necessarily how enterprises do it. Yes, it does help you learn how the technology works. And if you had a company of one, maybe you do that. But if you're working in a larger company where there's code reviews, where there's cybersecurity teams that need to ensure compliance, you want to make sure that your dev test and your production environments all match, it's going to be through infrastructure as code. AWS has CloudFormation, Azure has ARM templates, but most organizations use Terraform. And Terraform takes a little bit of effort to learn. There's a lot of free training out there. There are courses on Udemy or a Cloud Guru or whatever You need to learn that. If you have that on your resume, if you get a simple certification, it's going to help you far more than probably anything on my list. Understand the difference between YAML files and JSON files and how to edit them. It's not that big of a deal. It'll take you half an hour. Just understand the basics of it. You need to understand the basics of cybersecurity. The concern with bringing on people who are career changers is they don't always understand cybersecurity hygiene, and they might try to open a virtual machine up to the whole world in order to get at it because they don't understand how to secure it, or if it is secure, they know it's probably, they think it's too secure, and they'll expose it and put the company at risk. And no leader wants to bring someone into the organization who doesn't understand the basics of cybersecurity. You need to understand that. So take a course on cloud security and get some experience with it. Understand the basics of system administration. Again, you don't have to be a Unix system admin or a Linux system admin to do this job, but you have to understand the basics of networking, understand the basics of users, groups, and roles, role-based access control, and such. That would be really good to know. I think certifications are great, right? They help you learn a lot of what Microsoft or AWS wants, but there's still all those items on the list I mentioned. The next thing you really need to do is create a GitHub site and demonstrate that you can do this work. Every person I've interviewed whom I've asked, hey, would you learn this new technology? They're all like, yeah, I'll learn anything you want, no problem, yeah, I love learning, right? It's far better to go into an interview with a demonstrated set of learnings that you've accomplished, and that could be on GitHub or another site like that, where someone can look and say, well, she learned this back in October, and then November she learned this other thing, and the person went in January and learned this. If you can demonstrate learning, someone's going to believe that you can learn in the future, and they're not going to ask you if you can go learn a new technology. Like, let's say you're getting into Azure and your only experience is AWS. If you have demonstrated learning, they believe you'll learn Azure. But if you haven't demonstrated anything, then they're not going to believe you. That's the other downside of certifications is you sometimes see certifications where someone was certified in something back in 2007, and they have no certification since. And you look, you say, wow, dude, what you've said is you haven't learned anything in 15 years. So that's the other downside of certs. So that's my short list. It's not really that hard. You have to be able to demonstrate the basics, and you have to demonstrate that you're a learner. And if you do that, people are going to believe you. There's there are many hiring managers who would love to hire fresh talent who's just transitioning. They just have to make sure that you can do the basics and that you can learn with limited training. Limited direction. Doesn't mean limited training, but they're not going to be able to have 4 hours a day to spend with you. But if they know you can point you in the right direction every day and you'll make forward progress, then they'll believe that. So I think half of this is just convincing someone that you've accomplished enough in the past through your training that they should take a chance on you for the future. So anyway, that's it. Thanks. Bye.